Let's just cruise and we'll see what happens. Let's see if we can find any covers of these romance books with the picture of Sean Drover on the cover. Where's the one with Fabio? See how much he looks like Sean Drover. For those of you that don't know, Sean's our drummer. He's Canadian too. They expect a biography from somebody. One of the things that they think is going to be like either a tell-all, and that's not what I wanted. Right, I didn't want like a gossip magazine because I wanted it to be about who I am, why I write the way I write, what it's been like being a redheaded kid growing up in school, which was fucking hard, right? And then having my parents divorce and how I was always in different schools all the time, so that really affected me a lot. And then trying to get all that stuff in just a couple chapters, and then talk about what made me a musician, and then what made me want to go into Panic, and then why did I go to Metallica, and then how did I leave, and it's just, you gotta squeeze everything into this little space, and so we figured that we would just talk. The drugs, then the rock and roll, and then the sex, because you usually get buzzed and you go play, and then you see the girl. And then after you've taken your emotional hostage victim and you've got him in whatever, then you go for more drugs. Right. Because once you've apprehended your victim, you have to get them high. Right. Right. And would you like a drink? Would you like this? Would you like that? Now, good thing for me nowadays, I'm happily married and my life has changed. But I remember those days, and it was so amazing. One time we were going across state lines, and we had a band member at the time who met these twins in Oklahoma City, and they followed us into Florida, and the FBI followed us. And that wasn't the only time something like that happened. So, stupid stuff happens when you're in a band. Well, I think I'm going to skip the cooking section here. Ooh, watches. I like this. Now that's a timepiece. I was a black sheep in the family because they were all Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was a heavy metal guy. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me growing up. It just ruined. I mean, because you can't have friends, you can't celebrate birthdays. You stand up and it's time to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and you're standing there like this instead of like everybody else going, and people look at you. They're like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I needed to completely disconnect myself with God, because what I was taught was that, the hottest corner of hell was being kept hot for me because of the things I did. So, but then when you go back to what happened once I became successful, my mom used to, this is back before ATM cards were really as popular as they were. She would go and she'd pay for stuff, and she'd have her checkbook open so that people could say our last name, because it was a unique last name. And I was like, Mom, but I felt cool. She's passed away since then, and looking back at all the little things that she's done as a mom, that showed me she finally accepted what I did, and that I actually made her proud. On top of the religious indoctrination and the brainwashing from that cult, it was amazing to me to see that she was willing to put a mother's love for her kid between her own love for this belief that they have. I look at in several different ways. Because I have my own personal relationship with God, I didn't realize that that was all I needed till I found out it was all I had. And then that's when my life started changing. So I kind of looked at it as like luck. Is it luck, or is it me doing the right thing? Is it me treating people the way I want to be treated? Is it me, acting as though I had something else that was greater than I was, that I would try and, make proud. And because I didn't have a dad growing up, and I was pretty much just a loose cannon. And once I started trying to live my life a little differently, things started to change dramatically. Anybody that wants to say, don't talk to me about that, it's like, don't start any shit about it, because don't talk about the feuds, don't talk about stupidity. You're just wasting your time. If you want to talk about stuff, man, I'll tell you the history, I'll tell you the fun part about it. I'll admit my part in it that was bad. I'm not going to say anything about what they did that was bad. It ain't my place. One of the songs that I listen to, believe it or not, before I go on stage, we have this playlist in our rehearsal room that we set up each night. And Peter Gabriel, Big Time's one of them. Feels Just Like It Should by Jamiroquai is another song we listen to, because it's such goofy stuff, you know. You hear it and it's like, you know, it gets you out of your game. Because if you're just going in there and you're like, you know, there's no dynamic. You go back out there and you're just another angry dog up on stage. But if you're hearing that kind of funky music, you know, it gets you in that kind of rhythm. So that there's a difference with Megadeth music, because we have that rhythm. It's not just straightforward 4/4, just mind-boggling, you know, redundancy. You know, there's a flair to the music. A lot of that is because I grew up on punk rock and jazz music, but I also loved classical. And I really liked a lot of the Spanish-sounding stuff. So that's one of the things that has influenced us a lot with our music. Another thing I like to listen to is like I said, punk rock. Just throw on some Fear or some Sex Pistols before we go on. That's really great to listen to too. But the stuff that I've been actually listening to a lot that will blow your mind is I've been listening to a lot of country music. Every time I get into my car, my wife and my daughter's been driving my car around, and they put on the country channel, and you know, I gotta tell you, that shit ain't shit. I think everything that's in the book is there because it's going to help people. I think in a couple of instances it's going to help people because you can see that you can play heavy metal and you can be a badass, and you can also be a good guy.